Hello, Savannah. Can I get you a water or something to drink before we get started today?
No, ma'am, I'm okay.
Okay, so tell me, how have you been since our last session together?
Not so good. I haven't had the best week or so.
Okay, so can you tell me why things have not been so good recently?
Yeah, so I was given permission to go on leave to see family these past couple of days, and while I was there, I did relapse, and I'm so angry at myself for what I did. Some days I hit extremely low points.
I understand that you were upset with yourself. Can you take me through that day to help me see what happened that resulted in you relapsing?
Well, I was at a family event, and there was lots of laughter and dancing, and I had a really good time. After the family event, I left to go meet some of my college friends. We also laughed and joked about old times. The problem started when I took a shot. I felt myself losing control, and a couple of old friends who I used to do drugs with showed up. To my surprise, they had drugs on them. I battled between fighting the urge and getting high. Eventually, I started to have the craving and major urge to use again, and I felt like I had no sense of control over myself or the choices I made. I just wish I would have known that she was going to be there ahead of time so I could have been prepared. Addiction is hard. It's like a craving, like something that I can't control once I start. I know drugs aren't good for me, but once I start, it's hard to stop.
Being around people and environments can really be triggering when trying to recover. That is when it is very important to make sure you have strong self-control because you are the only person responsible for your actions. So tell me, at what point in this event did you feel like you were losing self-control?
I felt great during the whole event and hanging out with my friends and family. I was able to talk to interact with many people without even the thought of using. I felt so proud of myself for how good I was doing until my other friends who are also addicted to drugs showed up. After the event, I felt strong enough to go hang out with a few of my friends. That's when I began to lose all sense of self-control. I felt so lost and only could focus on getting high again.
Did you know that this group of friends would be using when agreeing to hang out with them? Okay, so while I'm noticing that you're starting to avoid this question, can you help me understand how you're feeling right now?
I'm upset because I knew they were going to be using that day, and I knew I should have never agreed to go. On the other hand, I craved that feeling. At that time, I told myself that this would be my last time.
Okay, so looking back today, how would you have preferred yourself to respond to the offer of being around that environment?
I think just not going to the event and just staying here would have been the best for me. I'm so upset with myself for letting it get to that point. I wish I could just go back and redo that day.
Well, I can definitely tell that you're upset about your decisions from that day. But it is important to recognize where mistakes were made and also to make sure that they don't get repeated again. What are some things that you would do differently if you were ever in that same situation in the future?
I know one thing I could have done differently was say no to hanging out with that specific group of friends. They don't really support my want to get sober. I also think I could have said no when getting offered the opportunity to use. But at that point, I had already lost all control over my actions.
From your response, I think setting healthy boundaries within yourself and around others could definitely benefit you a lot. Do you know what boundaries are?
I do.
Okay, good. So I see that setting some in place for yourself could really help you when it comes to maintaining a strong self-control. Do you have any ways boundaries could be helpful if you were ever put in a similar situation?
I think by having the courage to say no to hanging out would have really benefited me from relapsing. I had such a hard time saying no, especially to people I love, even if I know it could have hurt me in the long run.
Yes, I agree. I think that's a great way to set boundaries. It is very important to worry about your wants and your needs, and especially during this recovery process.
Saying no is hard, but I know that with great determination I could prevent myself from doing things that will not only harm me, but also harms the people who love me. I know that I need to stay focused and not let temptation prevent me from staying clean. I'm just unsure on how to get back on track.
I do agree that with great determination you can overcome any struggle you face. The same goes with addiction. I can tell from my time